Welcome back to the Supplies channel. My name is Elliot. I'm going to walk you through my step-by-step process to take this tungsten ring blank and turn it into a glowing inlay ring. I'm excited about this design. It's a new one I came up with. It's called the Magic Lake. We have a Magic Lake opal, and the look I'm going for is like something straight out of a fantasy novel. The first item we have is obviously the tungsten ring blank. Got it in a size 9, my size. And then our inlay, the most important one for this month, I'd say, is this Magic Lake opal. That's kind of where it all got the inspiration from. I have an amethyst as well, because we're gonna have definitely some purple vibes. And you're gonna see I'm gonna mix this iris and this aquamarine to look like a crazy fantasy like lake. And we'll top it off with an aqua glow in the background. Extra bonus this month, I just got this new lathe, so it's gonna be our first video I make on this. I've got it all set up with a new chuck. I've got my expanding ring mandrel from our website, and I'm ready to rock and roll on this thing. I always like to start by crushing up my materials to my desired size. I got my trusty steel plate here, an old hammer, and a circle of duct tape. And I will do them separately. I'll take the amethyst, and it's all pretty evenly sized here in this batch. So I'm gonna take probably 3 or 4 of those, and I'm gonna get a good mixture in sizes. Most of these are a little too big to put into a ring, but generally our company does it on purpose so that you have the flexibility to have them as large as you want. Got my safety glasses, of course. I got a good little variety of sizes going already. The problem with amethyst and a lot of these translucent type materials is that they start to look less like their color. So you're losing a lot of the purple if you smash the amethyst too small. But I'm going to get the best purple pieces out of here and choose my favorite sizes and probably use a mixture of the smallest, medium, and biggest pieces. Just take one of my gem scoops and use that to collect all the amethyst. And I'll just put it right back into its container. Alright. Then next we have the Magic Lake opal. Do the same thing. Pour out a good amount of that. Crush up a bunch of the pieces. Looking really nice. I've got it pretty small, but even some of those pieces that look small will end up being pretty big inside the ring. I'm gonna do the same thing here. Let's see, I'll use a second little gem scoop. Okay, then I'm done with my little steel plate for now. Next part will be working on the ring. I'm going to mount my tungsten blank. I already have a little bit of duct tape on the mandrel so that it can grip it a little easier and also keep the ring blank safe. I'm not going to tighten it too tight. Tungsten can shatter. I want to make sure it's spinning in a true circle. So I'll check by hand at first. I've got my lathe plugged in and the speed turned all the way down, and I will test it to make sure it's mounted perfectly. Do a little adjustment. Yeah, I think that's looking great. I'm gonna get right into the inlaying. I'm gonna use thick CA glue to set some stones. I like our Astrotech thick. You can get this on our website, obviously. I attached one of our glue tips so I can just be extra accurate and using smaller amounts. And now I'm just going to go around the ring. I'm starting with my amethyst. I've got this thick CA glue. I'm going to line up some random stone placements just as my first step. Gonna go all the way around with just the amethyst. Make sure I have that kind of covering every part of the ring. I added a little bit more light so you guys can see better. Before I go to the next step, I'm going to do a little bit of aqua glow powder and lock that in to all these glue areas so we make sure it's glowing deep down through the ring. Next, I'm gonna make sure those powders are nice and soaked in with my super thin glue. Not gonna use very much because I have more work to do before I fill in the channel. Then I'm gonna go back through and do the exact same thing I just did, but now use the opal. We'll dab some super thick again. Now this video is going to be a little different than usual because I'm trying to mix these two colors but also have them stay separate. So I'm going to start off by mixing them up on this plate and trying to get the exact look I'm going for, and then I can pull from there when I'm adding it into the ring. Do a little bit more. Couple different spots maybe. I also need to mix in this aqua glow powder. All right, I'm gonna stir it up and see what I get. What I did here was mix the aquamarine color pigment with the aqua glow powder, as well as the iris with the glow powder. And then I've got all three down here. I purposely mixed some all the way and left some kind of next to each other, but not fully mixed in. This is the look I'm really trying to go for in the ring. So I'm going to mostly pull from that, see if I can keep that look when I'm going into the ring blink. I'm going to take my super thin and do a light coat over everything. And I have this shovel-shaped scoop. I'm going to use that to try to keep some of this color pigment formation intact. It's looking good. I'm gonna knock some of this excess off because if I don't, it's gonna fill up the whole rest of the ring. And I wanna get a few more inlay materials in. It's already getting pretty sticky in there with the glue. So I'm gonna do another layer on top with the super thin, make sure it's all soaked through. And this is gonna spread these colors together even more. And next I'm gonna go back to my inlay materials, especially this opal. I think that's gonna look really good, sprinkled into this whole look. A little bit more super thin glue. And do some of the last of my smallest amethyst. Okay, got that all around. And then of course a little bit more super thin. You can never have too much. Just kidding, that's not true. And I'm liking how this pigment's turning out, so I'm just gonna go back over it with this same mixture I had before. I left some of that other pigment unmixed just in case, but so far I like the mixture. Gotta go back over the whole thing, and at this point I want to make sure all the cracks are filled. And once again, gonna go back through and soak it all the way with my super thin. At this point, I'm done with the inlay for now. I have it up above the bevel in every direction. Before we go back to the review, I need to use Accelerator to speed up the drying process. I'll give it a couple small spritzes. And that's it. You don't want to overdo it. You can get cloudiness in the ring. I'm gonna let that set up for about 10 minutes and then I will start grinding off the top of the inlay. All right, we're back. Looks like this is nice and hard and ready to go. I'm gonna start with a lower grit sandpaper. I believe I have a 60 grit piece. And I'm just gonna do the whole thing right here on the lathe. I'm gonna use my safety glasses, of course, and I like to use a respirator as well when I am going to be grinding off CA glue dust and other powders and such. Here's my respirator. One thing you wanna do is keep it wet so that it doesn't overheat. So I have this little spray bottle. Just gonna keep spraying this while I go. I'm just about where I want to be, almost flush with the bevel. It's gonna be a lot easier since this is a tungsten ring. I don't need to worry about scratching the ring really with this sandpaper. So I will just be able to grind right up to it. I'm pretty much done with the 60 grit. I'm gonna move up to a 120 grit now. It's looking really great. The last thing I'm going to hit it with is a 320 grit piece of sandpaper. And then I'm going to check for air pockets. All right, this is what we got. I can see a few air pockets slash cavities and voids here. So I'm going to do a layer of super thin on it and put some of the color pigment back in. I think I want a little bit more of the aquamarine, so I'm going to focus on putting that back into these voids. I've already got my pigment down here mixed with the glow, so I'm going to just take mostly this green stuff and I'm going to push it down all throughout the top of this ring. You can see the spots where it went in. So there's definitely a decent amount of voids. It might have been just all the different inlay materials I did and all the different layers. So be careful while you're going through this process. Now I'm going to do a layer on top with the super thin, get all that secured in there. And this should fill in all those different little voids. You want to make sure these are mixed with the glow powder if you're going for that look. Otherwise, you're going to have random spots that don't glow in the dark. Which is fine if you're going for that look. Then, of course, I'm going to hit it with the accelerator. We'll give that another 10 minutes. Okay, once again, this is nicely dried up. I'm not going to go through all the grits of sandpaper this time because we're already close to the surface. So I will start with a 180, just do a few turns, and then I'll do the 240 and 320 before we go into a polish. All right, we are done with our sanding progressions. It's looking really great, about what I imagined. Once I polish it, I'll be able to tell a lot better even how it's gonna look in the end. So let's get started. I've got my Astrotech jewelry polish. This is what I'm gonna do to get us start off with the rough. I'm just gonna spray a little dot of it on a paper towel and put some pressure on the ring as it spins on the lathe. It's looking super shiny already. I'm going to do the next step, our medium, step 2, and then we'll go into our step 3, mirror finish. All right, that's through all 3 progressions of the polish, and this is looking shiny. It's basically done. I'm gonna have to get it off of the mandrel here and then clean up the edges a little bit. I'm gonna do most of the cleaning up while I have it on the mandrel since it's held in place. With a tungsten ring, it's pretty easy. I'm not gonna care too much about scratching it because it's too hard to scratch. I have this little copper pin that I'm using just in case, so I can have using extra soft metal. It's still taking off the super glue nice and easy. All right, that was another pass with the mirror finish polish after I cleaned up the ring, and it's looking awesome. Knocking off a couple last pieces of glue with this. Just about did it. I'm gonna shine it up one more time by hand because after I took it off and cleaned it, it got a little gunky from that glue. So I'm just gonna use my mirror finish one more time. Don't need too much. By the way, these are great for when you have rings like in a collection, or if you wear one daily, you know, it's going to get either dinged up over time or just get dirty. And this polish is great for cleaning it and making it look like new. All right, I got this blank all cleaned up. The last thing I want to do is just hit it with my diamond paste polish. I noticed I did have a little bit of scratching right on the bevels. So just to make this extra sparkly and smooth finish, I'm going to hit it with the diamond paste polish. All right, here's the grand reveal. I think it looks awesome. It's just what I wanted. Get that good iris and aquamarine mixing together. The opal brings out just a little bit of sparkle, and then it glows awesome in the dark.